Hello everybody, this is Tilaka Jain. Welcome back to the second session of biology virtual class. Hope every one of you are keeping well. Shall we have a flashback of the last class? Science and its branches, units of chapters of biology which you are going to study in 10 standards. We have studied in the last session. Recall that schematic diagram. Let's see the unit of biology today. It is serial number 4th in the textbook, Life Processes unit. Let's see what life actually is first. It can be explained differently based on each one's experience or understanding, isn't it? So before knowing what is life, I want you to know some of the basics in connection with chemistry also. That is matter. What is matter? Matter can be also referred as material, substance, thing. So what is this matter? Let us know first. Matter is anything which has mass and occupies space. Anything which has mass and occupies space is matter. You have studied its classification in the earlier classes. It can be variously classified. Can you recall some of its classification? Yes, based on state of matter, it is classified into solid matter, liquid matter, gaseous matter, plasma matter. You remember? Yes. Based on the composition, matter can be classified into elements, compounds, mixtures. You are getting it right? Based on the composition, matter can be classified into elements, compounds and mixtures. Now we are in biology class. How it is classified based on life? Let's see. Matter based on life is classified into living matter and non-living matter. Living matter, things which have life. Non-living matter are the things which do not have life. Now the constituents let us refer under living and non-living matter. Refer to the slides there. Living matter composed of cells and non-living matters composed of atoms and molecules we refer. Basically cells are also made up of atoms and molecules only, but still for a better understanding, living things are made up of cells, non-living things are made up of molecules. Now let's see cells, the basic units of living matter. Cells are the structural and functional units of life. Structural and functional units of life are called cells. Now, in organisms, organisms are also referred living being, are also referred individual, life. So, organisms are made up of cells. Cells are organized in different levels in the body of an organism. See the scheme there. Cells are organized into different levels like tissues, organs, organ systems, finally which make an organism. Tissues are groups of similar cells with common origin, right? Different tissues you remember. Different tissues group together to make an organ to perform a particular function. Different organs group together to make an organ system. Different organ systems arrange in a specific manner to make an organism. So, in the functioning of an organism, all these organizations we are seeing, cells, tissues, organs, organ systems, we are seeing in the body of an organism. Now, let's see and recall what a cell is. Look at the diagram. Animal cell, plant cell. Earlier classes you have studied about that. Various functional structures present inside the cell are organelles. Nucleus is the controlling center of the cell. All the organelles are suspended in a ground substance called cytoplasm. Plant cell is covered with the cell wall outside the cell membrane. Nerve cell you can recall, which you have studied in your primary classes. Elongated structure it is having, as it has to transmit signals. So, such cells only organized into tissues, tissues into organs, organs into organ systems. Many such organ systems arrange in a specific manner to make an organism. Once again, refer to the schematic flow there. Cells are the structural and functional units of life. They are organized in different levels. Plant cells are having a specific structure. Animal cells are having a specific structure. Now let's see the actual topic, life processes. What is life processes? Vital processes seen in living organisms that are necessary for maintenance of life are life processes. In the definition you are seeing what, where and why. Look at the definition. Vital processes seen in living organisms that are necessary for maintenance of life are called life processes. What are those processes necessary for maintenance of life? Nutrition, respiration, transport, excretion, reproduction, response to stimuli, etc. Let's study these processes one by one. First one is nutrition. As we hear the word nutrition, it is referring to food, we can understand, isn't it? Why do we need food? Let's see first, then we'll get into its details. Okay, why do you eat? Why do you need food? Earlier classes also you have studied that, isn't it? Yes, to get energy we need food. For the growth we need food. For the maintenance of body temperature we need food, isn't it? To do any kind of work, energy is needed. This we get from the food. Growth. Our life starts from single cell. When you were born, you were so small. Now you have grown this big. So for this growth also, we are getting the materials from the food. Our body is warm, right? When there is life in our body, it is warm. So to maintain the body temperature also, some of the amount of food we eat is used. So thus, food is essential for maintenance of life, isn't it? So now let's see what is nutrition. It is the process of transfer of source of energy, that is food, from outside the body of organism to the inside. The process of transfer of source of energy from outside the body of organism to the inside is called nutrition. Or you can also define it as the method of obtaining food and its utilization in the body. The method of obtaining food and its utilization in the body is called nutrition. Now, how is it held in different organisms? Let's see it. That is modes of nutrition, different modes of nutrition. There are two major modes of nutrition. They are autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition is seen in green plants and in some bacteria, and thus they are called autotrophs. Okay, the meaning of the term auto is self, autotrophic is they are the self-dependent in obtaining, preparing food, they are self-dependent. The other mode of nutrition is heterotrophic nutrition. The animals, fungi and parasites, some bacteria are heterotrophic in nature, and thus they are called heterotrophs because they are depending on autotrophs for their food either directly or indirectly. So, thus which are the two modes of nutrition? Autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Autotrophs are self-dependent and so they are called autotrophs. The other one are depending on autotrophs for food either directly and indirectly, so they are heterotrophs. Now, let's look into the first one, autotrophic nutrition. Where it is seen, how it is done, what are the requirements for that, all the details of this we shall see now. Autotrophic nutrition is done through a process called photosynthesis, and it is seen in plants, you know that. What is this photosynthesis? How is it held? Where is it held? The details let's see now. Photosynthesis is a process of preparation of food in plants. Simple definition is the process of preparation of food in plants. It can be defined as process by which green plants or autotrophs take in substances from outside and convert them into stored form of energy. Its equation could be put like this. Look at the slide there written on the green board. 6 CO2, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide plus 12 H2O, 12 molecules of water in the presence of sunlight in all the chlorophyll containing parts of the plant, that is in green plants. C6H12O6, that is glucose, one of the carbohydrate, and the byproducts oxygen and water molecules are produced. Oxygen is released into the, if the plants are terrestrial, it is released into the air, and water also is released into the air and as a vapor, water vapor. Now, let's see how is it held. What are the steps involved in the process of photosynthesis? Let's see now. As you see there in the equation, first step what is taking place is light energy is absorbed by chlorophyll. Okay? Recall the figure of the plant cell. Plant cells are having a major organelle called chloroplast. It is green in color. Inside the chloroplast there are pigments called chlorophyll, which is responsible for this process. Okay, so in the process of photosynthesis, first step is absorption of light energy by the chlorophyll. Where it is taking place? In all the green parts of the plant body, generally in leaves. You know, some of the plants, the other parts are also green in color. There also chloroplast is present. So generally it is taking place in leaves. Later what happens is conversion of this light energy into chemical energy, during which water molecule is broken down to form hydrogen and hydroxyl ions. H2O is splitting into H plus and OH minus, the ions. This is conversion of light energy into chemical energy, and this energy is now in the form of hydrogen and hydroxyl ions. And later carbon dioxide is reduced into a carbohydrate using these ions H plus and OH and other products that are available there. Carbon dioxide is reduced into a carbohydrate. Now this process in elaboration, look at the diagram there. See the plant cell, the major organelle chloroplast is only shown inside. Major part of this is the leaves, site of photosynthesis. When a leaf is cut, what you are seeing there in the next diagram is in the main vein of the leaf, we are seeing the vascular bundles where xylem and phloem are present. They are the vascular tissue that transport materials. Xylem is transporting water and mineral salts from the root to the upper part, especially to the leaves, as water is one of the raw material for the process. Phloem, of course, after the food is made, through phloem it is carried to all the other parts of the plant body. Now, one small part from that leaf, a small part, the cross section of that part, when is seen under the microscope, how it appears. See the enlarged part it is, cross section of the part of the leaf it is. You are seeing upper epidermis, lower epidermis in the diagram. Above the upper epidermis there is one layer called cuticle, a waxy layer which helps in conserving water or preventing transpiration. Lower epidermis also epidermal cells, there is no nucleus, see there, it is no nucleus, they are actually the dead cells. In the lower epidermis you are finding an opening. What is it called? Can you see? Yes, it is stoma. Stoma singular, stomata plural. So through this stoma, exchange of gases occur. In the equation you are seeing carbon dioxide is one of the raw material needed for the process, is not? So that carbon dioxide is entering the photosynthetic zone through the stomata. Then in between the upper and lower layer, you are finding two types of cells, right? Upper side you are finding some elongated, closely arranged cells. They are palisade parenchyma. Lower to that, loosely held cells are there and are called spongy parenchyma. Actually, this is the zone where photosynthesis take place. Here, the process inside the chloroplast of these cells, the photosynthesis process is taking place. First is absorption of light energy by the chlorophyll. Later, light energy is converted into chemical energy and water is split into hydrogen and hydroxyl ions, and then carbon dioxide is reduced to a carbohydrate and thus food is synthesized. See the cross section of a leaf, observe it carefully. You need to learn to draw also, so observe it well. Next we shall see the requirements of photosynthesis. In the equation already it is shown, but still once again, what are the requirements of photosynthesis? One is chlorophyll, very essential for it. It is present in all the green parts of the plant, especially on leaves, inside the leaves. Second one is sunlight. Sunlight is the ultimate source of energy for everything, you know that. So even for photosynthesis also, sunlight is very essential requirement. Then carbon dioxide. The left hand side of the equation you see, carbon dioxide is very essential. The land plants are called terrestrial plants, you know. Land plants obtain carbon dioxide from air. The water plants are called aquatic plants. So aquatic plants are getting carbon dioxide from water. In the dissolved state, carbon dioxide is present in water that they are getting. Through stomata, it is entering inside the leaf and used for the process. And the aquatic plants, maybe even by diffusion also, the carbon dioxide may get into the cells. Then water and even the mineral salts, some of the mineral salts are also needed. Water is also, terrestrial plants are getting it from soil. Root is absorbing water and mineral salts, which is transported through xylem to the photosynthesis site. Mineral salts are nitrogen, phosphorus, iron, magnesium are very much essential. Among this, nitrogen is the important one, major one. Though it is available in enormous quantity in the atmosphere, we are not having the capacity of using it directly. So through the natural cycles during rains, it is getting into the soil. In the soil, through various biological processes, it is converted into nitrites and nitrates, and these salts, nitrates and nitrates containing nitrogen, are absorbed by the roots and which is used in the process. Then one more very essential part which is involved in the process is stomata, the pores that are present on the leaves. If you observe a leaf carefully, you are finding tiny pores on its surface, more in number in the lower surface, just like the sweat pores on our body. Can you see the sweat pore? No, we cannot see. But when we sweat, is it not? And that sweat is coming out from our skin through these pores only. So minute they are. Same way, stoma are the minute pores that are present on the surface of the leaves, and how it is functioning in taking in carbon dioxide or releasing even oxygen which is produced during the photosynthesis. How stoma is functioning, let's have a look. Look at the diagram there. In the cross section of leaf also you have seen, it is a cross section. It is transverse section. The leaf when is cut transverse and observed under the microscope, how it appears you have seen. Now longitudinally, when the leaf surface is cut and observed under the microscope, how it appears. You see there, two guard cells are neighboring the stoma. Stoma is the opening, the middle space. You see there the arrow mark. Middle space is stoma. It is neighbored by special cells and are called guard cells. Surrounding the guard cells, there are epidermal cells on the surface, just like the skin of the leaves. Epidermal cells, they are the dead cells. Once again you notice, no nucleus are made on the epidermal cells, whereas guard cells are living. Nucleus is there, cytoplasm is made. Can you see? Yes. How the opening and closing of stoma is held is, when carbon dioxide needed for the process, stoma stays open, it keeps open. How it is happening is, the water flows into the guard cells during the process and the guard cells swell. As a result, the opening becomes bigger. Okay? The guard cells swell as a result of flow of water into them. As a result, the stomata open, stomata pores open. Carbon dioxide from air gains entry inside. Whereas when carbon dioxide is not needed, that time what happens? Stoma closes. All the stomatal pores closes. How it is held is, the water present in the guard cells are removed. As a result, the guard cells shrink, which results in the closing of the stoma. Look at the diagram carefully. It is also one of the important diagram which you have to learn to draw. So this is about photosynthesis. You observe the diagrams, understand the concepts well. First, when you are watching, keep a book and a pencil ready. Whichever step you do not follow, do not understand, you note down, and later anytime you can ask me if you are having any doubts regarding. Thank you.